If you would have told me years ago that one day I'd be standing on a TEDx stage sharing an idea with the world, I probably would have laughed. And not because I didn't believe in myself, but because I thought TEDx was for scientists, authors, researchers, world famous experts. I didn't realize that some of the most powerful ideas come from ordinary people willing to do the extraordinary, willing to pay attention to what they've lived through. And that's exactly what happened to me. So, in this video, I desire to share with you how I went from teaching classes, certifying teachers, helping mentor yoga teachers, to speaking on a TEDx stage. And more importantly, what that journey can teach you about leadership, authority, and impact. My story, it really starts in 2009. A little bit before, but that was like a big pivotal time because that was the year I was diagnosed with lupus. And at the time, I wasn't looking for a career in yoga. I wasn't trying to build a business. I was trying to heal, not become a speaker, not be world renowned. I was trying to walk, see, understand what was happening in my body. I was looking for a way forward, and yoga became one of the tools that changed my life. It helped me reconnect with myself physically and non-physically. It helped me manage my stress. It helped me move through one of the most difficult chapters in my life. And when something changes your life that deeply, you naturally desire to share it. So I didn't just tell people about what I did. I became a yoga teacher. And like many teachers, I thought success meant teaching more classes, teaching bigger classes. So that's exactly what I did. I taught the earliest classes. I taught the latest classes. I taught the weekends. I taught yoga as a side hustle while I was still in corporate. I taught anywhere people would let me teach. At one point, I even taught veterans, and they are fun. They taught me a lot. At one point, I was teaching more than 20 classes a week. And while I was making an impact, I was also becoming exhausted because nobody taught me how to build a yoga career. I had been trained to teach the yoga. I had not been trained to think strategically about how to run a yoga business, how to lead. And over time, I started noticing something interesting. The most powerful moments, they weren't happening when people mastered a pose. Yeah, we got excited, but the powerful moments were happening during conversations. People would stay after class. They would come before class. They would ask questions. They would share stories. They would share wins. They would tell me about burnout, purpose, stress, leadership, relationships, faith, identity, community, and I realized something important. The yoga was opening the door to much bigger conversations. The intentions of the class was what really resonated with people, and that's when my perspective started to change. I stopped seeing myself as someone who simply taught yoga. I started seeing myself as someone who helped people solve problems, the problems that kept them up at night. People don't actually come to yoga looking for a pose. They might think that, but they come looking for relief, clarity, connection, confidence, peace. The pose is simply the vehicle. The transformation, that's the destination. So as I continued to teach, opportunities began to expand. I started working with conventions, festivals. I eventually began teaching at Rice University as a yoga teacher first, but then as an adjunct yoga professor. I work with corporations, community organizations, church, large public events, and every experience taught me something. The same problems kept showing up. Different people, different settings, same underlying challenges. Stress, disconnection, burnout, lack of purpose, lack of community. And I became fascinated by a bigger question. What if yoga wasn't just helping individuals? What if yoga could help communities, cities, organizations, even the world? That question eventually became the foundation of my mission, world peace through inner peace. Because the more people I worked with, the more I realized that peace doesn't begin in governments. It begins not in boardrooms. It begins inside human beings. A peaceful world requires peaceful people. And peaceful people require tools for regulation, tools for awareness, tools for connection. And that's what yoga gave me. And that's what I desire to share with others. Now, here's the part most people miss about TEDx. TEDx isn't looking for people with the most credentials. It's looking for people who know what they're talking about. It's looking for people who have ideas worth spreading. And that's the phrase, ideas worth spreading. Not poses worth demonstrating, not certifications worth displaying, ideas worth spreading. And that changed everything for me because I realized I wasn't applying as a yoga teacher. I was applying as someone with an idea. And the idea wasn't yoga. The idea was what yoga makes possible. The idea was that inner peace can create outer peace. The idea was that the nervous system regulation changes how people make decisions. The idea was that wellness isn't just personal, it's social, cultural, global. Once I understood that, I stopped pitching yoga and I started sharing ideas. And here's something I desire for every yoga teacher to hear. Your classes, they're research. Every conversation after a class is research. Every question your students ask, research. Every breakthrough they experience, research. Because those moments reveal what most people are struggling with, what they care about, what they need. And often hidden inside those moments is an idea worth sharing. Many people think that leadership starts on a stage. It doesn't. It starts in service. It starts by helping people. It starts by paying attention. It starts by noticing patterns. Then eventually you build a framework around what you've learned. You create language around it. You refine it. You teach it. And over time, your message grows. The TEDx stage wasn't the beginning of my journey. It was the result of years of teaching, over a decade of teaching, of listening, of serving, of asking better, more intentional questions. The stage simply amplified a message that had already been developing for years and years and years. And that's important because many people focus on the stage, but the real work happens before the stage. So if you're watching this and you're a yoga teacher, a wellness professional, a coach, a leader, here's what I invite you to remember. Stop asking the question, how do I become a speaker? How do I become a leader, a thought leader? Let's start asking, what idea am I uniquely qualified to share? What have I lived through? What problem have I solved? What lesson have I learned? What transformation have I witnessed? Because somewhere inside your story is a message. And somewhere inside that message may be an idea worth spreading. My TEDx talk is one milestone in my 2,000 days to win an International Peace Prize as a result of the work. But that milestone is not the destination. The mission remains the same, to spread world peace through inner peace, to help people regulate their nervous systems, to help communities become healthier, to help leaders become more conscious, and to help yoga teachers recognize the power of their work. We are needed, y'all. Because the world needs your voice, not just your poses. And if this message resonated with you, I'd love to have you share What idea are you passionate about? And if you're a yoga teacher who desires to learn how to position yourself as a leader, to create meaningful opportunities, and to build a career around your message, I invite you to join me in our community because your impact is bigger than you think. And your story may be exactly what someone needs to hear. I'll see you in the next video, and you're invited to join me. Check out the caption for details. Peace.